Hi dear students, today let us learn about the American civilization. The Central and South American continent had three major centers of civilizations. They had considerably advanced culture. They are Mayan, Aztec and Inca civilizations. Maya, Aztec and Inca are the ancient Columbian civilization of America. These civilizations represent the culture of the Indian aborigines of America. During the geographical discoveries, America and Australia were discovered and misunderstood as India. The inhabitants of these places were called Indians. Thus, the aborigines of America and Australia came to be called Indians. In later history, the familiar countries came to be known as the Old World, and the countries which were discovered newly came to be known as a New World. The nomadic people who settled around 1500 BC in these regions grew maize, cereals, fruits, pepper and cotton. Mayan Civilization. The American Indian aborigines of Yucatan area of Mexico are called the Mayans. Their language is called Yucatec. Physically, the Mayans were short, brown complexioned, long haired and generally round headed people. The Mayans were the most advanced among the ancient American Indians. The ruins of these cities found at Mexico, Guatemala and Honduras. Around 1700 years ago, this civilization rose into its cultural heights. Their earliest cities were built around 320 century. This civilization declined by the attack of Spain under the leadership of Cortex in between 1527 to 1546. The life of the Mayans. The settlements of the Mayans included huge ceremonial centers. These have been called cities, but they were not inhabited by the people. These areas were utilized for religious ceremonies, markets, courts, and city administration centers. In all the ceremonial centers and on either sides of the courtyard, there used to be pyramids. There were many mammoth stone pillars in front of the pyramid. Usually, depictions of gods, priests, important leaders in administration, and hieroglyphics writings would be carved on these pillars. Such stone figures are called steles. The largest among these is approximately 35 feet high and 65 ton in weight. There were temples on top of the pyramids. The ordinary Mayans lived in huts. The noteworthy intellectual achievements of the Mayans can be seen in their writings called the hieroglyphics. Their hieroglyphics writings is based on ideographic symbols and sounds. There are around 850 characters in their writings. These hieroglyphics texts have been carved on stone memorials, structures, and on logs of wood. They were also written in books. Almost all their books were destroyed during Spanish conquest. The book Dresden Codex was used to predict the date of eclipse. There is no evidence of the use of metal among the Mayans. Even in the early 16th century, copper and gold were rarely used. They used tools made of stone, bones, and wood. Till 9th century, they were not aware of the use of bow and arrow. The Mayans treated rain, soil, wind, sun, moon, and maize itself as their gods. Throughout their history, the Mayans practiced human sacrifice on a limited scale. The Aztecs. The Aztecs were basically nomadic people. It is said that they came to Mexico around the 13th century. They fought many times with a few tribes and also served under them. Thus, the Aztecs imbibed the culture of Toltecs, Mayans, and Zapotecs. In the 14th century, they took shelter on an island in the lake in Mexico and built the city of Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs built their city on an island in the lake Texcoco in Mexico. They are called Tenoche, a name derived from their legendary ancestor Tenoch. It is an incredible story of a small wandering tribe that built and ruled an empire within the span of only 1 century. Its rapid rise and fall have been recorded in its oral literature and can be understood from the excavations. The Aztecs oral literature has been translated by the Spanish historians and social scientists. These have been called as Indian codices. The language of Aztecs were called Nahua. Even today, there were people who speak Nahua in Mexico. When the Spanish army entered the Mexican city in 1519, they spotted the beautiful city on the island in a lake. That city was Tenochtitlan, which was the capital of the Aztecs. As the Spanish stepped into the city, they saw three wide roads. One of them led to the palace. The second road led to the Ornate temple, and the third one led to the pyramids. The best of the architectural and sculptural representations are found on their buildings. Huge temples were decorated with carvings. They have recorded historical and religious events using symbols and numbers through hieroglyphic writings. The Aztecs had learned the use of calendar from the Mayans. Trade connected Tenochtitlan with far-off places of the empire. Soldiers gave protection to the traders since there were no animals to carry loads. Manual laborers were employed as beasts to burden to carry them. They used boats to sail in the canals while bringing the harvest from nearby farms. Their main crops were pulses, grains, pepper, fruit juice, tomato, tobacco, and cotton. They used a barter system for transactions. The Aztecs used their wealth and power to make their life luxurious in the capital. The king lived in a magnificent palace. The nobles and innumerable slaves were under the king. The small islands around the island city had been converted into agricultural land. These land were called chinambas. The farmers lived in huts on the islands. The officials used to live in houses built of stone and burned bricks. People were trained in the art of war, bow and arrow. The prisoners captured during the war would not be killed, but they were kept in prison, later sacrificed during religious rituals. The Aztecs were worshippers of nature. They tried to please God in many ways. One of them was human sacrifice. They sacrificed more and more human beings to please the god when the empire grew. It is believed that when the temple pyramid of Tenochtitlan was dedicated, around 20,000 prisoners were sacrificed. By the attack of Hernando Cortex, this civilization totally declined. Incas. The Inca Empire, which flourished during the 15th and 16th centuries, spread in the areas of Peru, Ecuador, Chile, and Argentina. Since the Incas did not know writings, not much is known about their early life. They came and settled in the Peruvian Curso Valley around the 11th century and gradually occupied the whole areas of Peruvian Cusco Valley. Tupac was the prominent leader of the Incas. He had fought the earlier tribals of Chimus and overpowered the Chimus. Over a period of time, his descendants worked to establish an empire. But in 1532, a Spanish army of only 200 men defeated the Incas. It murdered the Inca soldiers in a gruesome manner and took over the kingdom. The talent of the Incas can be seen more in their organizational ability than in their artistic interest. Their empire had been divided into four provinces. Chiefs looked after the provinces. Above them was the king. Officials and priests can be seen to be powerful classes of the society. The land was divided into three parts. One part was reserved for the families. The other two parts were meant for the sun god and the king respectively. The Incas built huge granaries throughout the kingdom. At the time of calamities, the food grains stored in these granaries and cloth would be provided to the people. Every year, inspectors would visit the villages to enumerate people in every village and also to keep an account of food and animals. Systematic planning was possible due to good communication facilities. The state had many narrow roads and two main roads. People were appointed to stand on the roads for passing the informations speedily. The greatest contribution of the Incas can be seen in their huge stone buildings. Their architecture is spread throughout their empire. Their most important buildings are in Peru. Many palaces and temples have been found in Peru. The Incas had developed new ways of making pot, clothes and in working with metals. Creation of gold jewelry had progressed very well in the part of northern Peru. The sun god was most important deity of the Incas. They believed that god Viracocha was responsible for all creation. According to them, the sun god was the link between the people and god Viracocha. This was the reason that there was a sun temple in all Inca centers. They worshipped objects of nature like the moon, the stars and lightning and prayed to other natural phenomena.